So over the past several days, many people have been discussing this potential $5,000 Doge dividend check. Now, I have some key updates that you need to be well aware of and what lawmakers are currently discussing. Have some little bit of inside information I want to give you. I'm not going to give you names, but I'm going to give you what they're discussing. This is huge. This could potentially blow this Doge dividend wide open and provide more benefits to more people. So again, I'm going to break all this down in just a moment, explain how you could get a piece of this $5,000 dividend, but it may not require any work on your part. So I'll break all this down in just a moment, but all I ask is one thing, takes 2 seconds, go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates, and now let's begin. So this is where this $5,000 Doge dividend is really taking a turn. And I told you this was going to happen. And the reason why there's a major shift and a massive change that is currently taking place regarding this $5,000 Doge dividend is because of what we call deficit hawks. These deficit hawks are concerned that the U.S. deficit is continuing to spiral out of control and will soon be $37 trillion. Well, they want to figure out a way to tackle that debt and to bring the U.S. and rein in spending, but bring us back to normalcy. Well, here's what you need to understand. First, there's changes, okay? I want to show you something first. You've already seen it, but I want to show you because this number is going to be adjusted. Look at this. It says right here, this is how the proposal for Trump's Doge dividend would work. Doge is targeting a $2 trillion total savings. That would mean if we take 20% of those total savings, it would come up to $400 billion and it would go to 79 million US households. Okay? This is the number, these are the numbers you need to keep in mind. 20% and 400 billion. Okay. This is now what lawmakers are discussing. Now, I talked to I'd say he's an acquaintance, somebody that I met here on the channel who deals with certain lawmakers, okay? So I'm going to say, but he was telling me that there's now backroom discussions of, yes, providing this stimulus, this dividend back to the American people. But here's the change. Listen to this. They are still planning on using the 20% for the Doge dividends, like the savings, give it back to the American people. But there has been recent discussions of let's lower that amount. Okay, so instead of 20%, let's lower that amount to maybe 15%. Okay, still 15% of a $400 billion savings is what? $37.50, still pretty good if it's going to 79, 80 million households. But this is where it's taking a turn. He says, and I wrote down some notes here. He says, if President Trump wants this to go through, he needs the deficit hawks on his side because currently there's too many deficit hawks that are concerned about the federal deficit of 36 trillion that they do not want to provide $400 billion back to the American people. And many lawmakers are skeptical that even the Senate Majority Leader is going to put this on the floor in the Senate or even the House. We may not see the Speaker of the House put it on the floor because it may hurt those lawmakers. They're going to vote against it. Keep in mind, if they put this in a reconciliation bill, it needs at least 51 votes in the Senate. That may not happen. So he says, President Trump needs deficit hawks on his side. The only way this may work is to offer more towards paying down the national deficit, the $36 trillion. Here's what he's saying. They are currently discussing altering who gets the savings. Listen to this. This is where President Trump could actually provide, according to him, the discussions that are being had include increasing the child tax credit payment from $2,000, which it is currently, to $3,000. There have already been discussions on this as well. And this was before the the possibility of receiving a Doge dividend of 20%. So that's one thing, and keep in mind that if the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act doesn't get extended past 2025, then that $2,000 child tax credit actually goes down to $1,000, which it was prior to 2017. So now they're discussing a potential $2,000 increase, okay, to take it from $1,000 to $3,000 in this next year, simply because this is where some of the savings are going. And they're talking about 5%, okay, because this is why. Instead of taking a whole 20% of the total savings of $2 trillion, which would be 20% was $400 billion, let's just take 15%, and 15% will go towards these Doge payouts, which means some of that, the $300 billion would go towards the increase of child tax credit payments. The other one, 5%, put that into Social Security. Okay, put it just straight into Social Security. Put in, 5% of that. So what is that, right? Again, this is big. This is very big. This means $100 billion will go into Social Security. I don't know if it's going to be a one-time payment. I don't know if it's going to be a yearly thing, but $100 billion goes into Social Security. That would be huge. So we got $100 billion going into the child tax credits, another $100 billion going into Social Security. Okay, that takes us to 10%, and then the remaining 5%, that gets divided up. It's $100 billion goes to the roughly 80 million U.S. households that are eligible for these Doge dividends. That payment would still be $1,250 for a household, or let's say $625 for an individual, as long as they were in a net tax-paying household. That's what the discussions are right now. Now, again, and he made it very clear, these discussions aren't being had with the Speaker of the House, the Senate Majority Leader, or President Trump himself. They're being discussed in backroom negotiations as to how can we fix the issues that we are currently facing. Social Security is a big one. I've been talking about this. I've been saying that Social Security has to see some type of reform, and maybe this is it. Now, I don't know for sure if this is something that's going to go through. Again, he made it very clear these are backroom discussions. But they are now taking the framework, this one right here. This is from James Fishback, the CEO of Azoria. This is what everybody's going off of. This is what Elon Musk took to President Trump himself. This is what President Trump was saying that, yeah, that's doable. We can do that. But keep in mind now, deficit hawks are saying, you know what? We can't be sending out $400 billion back to the American people when there's other things that we can use this money for, such as this debt paydown, Social Security, an increase or enhancement to child tax credits. And we still don't know what's going to happen with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. But again, I just want to share this with you because I thought that this is very interesting. I knew there was a potential, there was a chance to see an increase of over $5,000. But now they're discussing, let's actually limit the amount of money that goes out to the American people through just this Doge dividend, and let's put it towards useful programs like giving it to parents so that they can help raise children, right? 5% there. Now, I don't know, and again, he's just throwing out these numbers. I don't know exactly what an increase from $2,000 to $3,000 would do, like how much money it would actually cost the federal government per year. But according to many reports that I've read recently, this is something that lawmakers have been discussing for quite some time, is to increase the child tax credit payments to $3,000 or $3,600 because of all the inflation that we've seen around the entire United States. So we'll see what happens, but that's what we know as of today. So one thing I can promise you, as soon as we get more information, I'll be back here and I'll keep you updated as soon as we get it. But again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.